And we're live. Wait for some people to get on the stream. Who's there? Have you seen it, Lorelei? Has it come up?
I just allowed it.
Cool.
Let me see.
Well, here I am. This is my kind of second time of doing this, or second day of doing it, because we kind of did two parts yesterday on one song. And yeah, we're going to do a different song today. Hello, Jason. I see you. You've joined the stream. Right, just an important point that I want to make at the beginning of this, because watching the replays, this is more about replay. So if you're watching this after it's happened, let's say on YouTube, because I uploaded yesterday's one on YouTube, the audio quality is much better as well. Hello, Randall. If you watch it not live, but after the event, and you just want to hear the song, because I noticed on YouTube and on Facebook people going on there and watching the first bit where they listen through the song and then skipping off, which is absolutely fine. I totally understand. A lot of people don't want to listen to all the technical details and go through every last bit of a mix. I totally get that. But skip to the end of the video and listen to it there, because right at the end of the video I'm likely to do a complete playthrough, and by that point it's actually sounding a lot better. So I wouldn't just listen to the bit that we do at the beginning, because that's kind of the unmixed bit, or just where we're at. Hello, Adam. How you doing? I used to record Adam loads. He's a very good friend of mine. Say hello to Maggie for me as well. Graham. Hello, Graham from Liverpool. Right, so that's the first thing I was going to say, is if you're watching this after, skip to the end, listen to the mix there, because it will be a hell of a lot better. I don't want you to listen to the unmixed version and say, oh, that sounds good, even though it probably does sound good. You know, do that. So the other thing is I'm going to be doing a lot more of this while we're in this lockdown. People are going to send me songs and send me multi-tracks, and I'm going to mix them in a live stream. And people have been asking me, you know, how much are you going to charge? Well, I'm not going to charge. It's going to be free. But there are certain terms and conditions, which before I start mixing this song for them, I'm going to go through. I've got some options and some sort of terms and conditions on this. So the first thing you have to do is submit me your song via email. You can just have it as an MP3, submit it to me. If I like it, I have to like it. If I don't like the song, hello, Sharon. If I don't like the song, or it's not something that I can do something with, there's absolutely no point in me trying to add something to it or mix something. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm happy to mix stuff out of genres that I'm not so into, but there's just, I have to be able to bring something to it. So don't be offended if I can't. Doesn't mean it's a bad song or anything. It just means it's not something I can do anything with. And obviously, if I like it, I'll mix it on the live stream, and you'll have two options, which is I only mix what you give me. So if you give me files, then I'll just mix your files, and that's it. Or I can add to your mix. So, for example, if I was thinking, oh, we need a shaker in the chorus, I might program a shaker in, or I might add a bit of keyboard or add a bit of guitar or something. So that's entirely your choice. You can say to me, here's the files, don't add anything, or do add anything. You know, do what you want. That's the thing. So here's the other bits. I can... Lorelei, mute your computer. She's playing the stream out of time in the background. It puts me off. So I can play... Here's some terms and conditions if you send me files. I can play any part of your mix soloed, so don't send me stuff that you wouldn't want played to people, like outtakes and out-of-tune vocals. If you send it to me, I'm going to play it. So don't send me anything that might embarrass you. I can do what I want mix-wise. I don't want to have my hands tied unless we've got a specific agreement where it's like, I'm making an album and here's the other songs, could you make it sound a bit like this? Unless we've agreed something different, I want a free hand to be able to do what I want with the mix. But there's no obligation for you to use the mix. You don't have to use it. But if it earns you some money, let's say in 3 years' time you release that song and you use my mix and it makes you an absolute fortune and you become the next sort of Ed Sheeran or something like that, then I would appreciate it. I don't want to have some sort of contract. I'm not going to go that far, but I'd just appreciate if there was some goodwill there and you'd sort me out. When you share the multi-track with me, you're consenting for me to use those tracks and also any mix I produce for my own purpose. For example, re-uploading it to YouTube and keeping it on my live stream. I won't own any of the song. I'm not trying to take anyone's rights away, but I will have a lifetime royalty-free license to the song. So if you became famous in 3 years' time and I've mixed your song, you can't say you've got to take that video down off your YouTube channel, because no, I did the work, we agreed, and it's going to stay out there for life, basically. You've got to own the rights to the song, so in general, I don't want you to send me covers unless we've previously agreed, because I couldn't monetize a video on YouTube, for example, with a cover. If I find out later that you don't own the rights or whatever, then that's kind of down to you. You've got to deal with that fallout, not me. And at the moment, I'm just going to limit it to one song per artist, unless we've got a separate negotiation, separate deal going. And the artist, whoever that is, you must share the stream on your social networks as I'm doing it, and the YouTube video afterwards. So basically, that's what I'll be... They're my terms and conditions, and I'm happy to mix your songs on a live stream for free. If you want something tweaked after I've done my live stream mix, then we can discuss. If it's serious work, then that might involve payment. But for now, it's going to be up to the point where I do any work pre the live stream and up to the end of the live stream. That's all going to be entirely free. So feel free to email me songs. You can get my email address on my website, which is daviddomminney.com. And you can email me your songs, and if I like it and I can add something to it, I'm happy to do a mix for you, which, you know, is all yours to do what you want. Right, Lorelei, do you want to get in on this? Lorelei's here. She was in the background. She's monitoring the live stream. Before we get into the mixing, Lorelei's going to say a few words. Move the mic round.
Okay. Excuse me. Hello, everyone. What I wanted to share was a little bit about the history of this song. Now, everybody knows Lemmy from Motorhead and Ace of Spades and all that, and he definitely had that rough guy side. But when I met him, it was in Hamburg, Germany. After a Pink Floyd concert, he had come to the hotel where we were all partying in the bar, and, you know, we got to be into conversation.
I don't believe Lemmy would do that.
Yeah, right. It was me that you wouldn't believe the way I was drinking. But anyway, we got to be friends. And I told him I had this song and I wanted to finish it. And he helped me finish the lyrics. Now, there's nothing musically about this song that you would associate with him. But he had a very sensitive side. And he came up with some great lines in it. So I'm very happy that we were finally able to get this song recorded, because we wrote it back in 1989.
So I've been working on this song since, was it 2017? I think it was the end of 2017.
It wasn't that long ago.
It was.
Was it?
Yeah.
No.
Wasn't it?
No. It was last year.
No, it was end of 2017.
Then it was 2018. Anyway.
I can't remember. I'll have to look up. Anyway, I've been working on this song for a while. When did I release my album?
See, because I think I made the demo in 2018.
No. I need to look this up. Sorry, I'm looking up to see when I released my album. Can't remember. View cover photo. When did I upload that? I'm looking on Facebook to see when I released my album. This is September 2017. I released my album. And that was when we had, because I'd been recording the drums for my album in the studio, and they were all set up. That's when Bonnie did his after I'd released. So it was 2017.
Okay.
Bonnie recorded the drums on this, and Ricky recorded the bass, and your friend Dave Innes, which I haven't met, but he does the keyboards.
Dave Innes is from the band Restless Heart, which is kind of like a country Eagles. He's a fantastic musician, and he's got tremendous skills. I mean, ranging from jazz to pop to country to whatever you want, he can play it. And he's a good friend, and I really appreciate him contributing.
Well, a few hellos before we get started on this, because, lots of people. So Adam I've said hello to. Hello Sharon, hello Will, hello Mike, hello Connor, hello Anne, hello Martin, hello Juan, Rachel, Rupert and Sheila. It's lovely to see you all commenting on there. We've got about 35 people watching this live at the moment, which is fantastic. So we're going to start by just listening to where we're at. I recorded all of this. I've done all the tracking on it with the exception of the keyboards, which is kind of good and bad. In one way, it's good because I did have control over everything. I'm not running into anything that's unexpected. But the bad part of it is actually when I did the drum recording, I was kind of between equipment, which anyone out there who runs a kind of a home bit of home recording setup or whatever knows that sometimes you have old gear that breaks and it's a while before you buy new gear. So my 24 in and out system that I wanted to record with suddenly became an 8 in and out system very, very quickly when I was doing the drums, which meant there were certain mics that I just had to get rid of and certain things I had to trigger. And it still sounds really good because I've done a lot of work on it to make sure it sounds good. But it's, it's interesting what you can do with just sort of 8 ins and outs on a drum kit. Because usually, like yesterday, I was complaining about not having an under snare mic. Well, I don't have an under snare mic on this. I opted to have a single overhead over the top of the kit and 2 room mics rather than an under snare mic and some other bits and pieces. So it's interesting. I've now upgraded my setup and I've got 32 ins and outs and it's lovely. Hello. Oh, Gemma says hello to Dave. Hello, Gemma, and hello. Dean, and hello Nancy, and hello Amy. Right, sorry if I missed the hellos because we're going to listen to the song and we're going to be doing some working now. I'll try and keep an eye on the feed, but it's very distracting. Here we go. This is it as it is so far. Right, full start, everyone. I'm still getting used to this, and I realise I hadn't changed the screen to Cubase to follow it, and I also was trying to mute my mic, and my mixer had got disconnected. My control panel for my mixer got disconnected. So we're going to start that again. I'm going to mute my mic, and here we go.
taste your kiss and hear the laughter that was yours and mine. You pretend you don't feel what I'm feeling, so you run and hide. A million years roll by until I hold you, but I can't say goodbye. I don't know what happened to us, baby. I can't put your face back in my eyes. The days are long, the nights are never ending. Forgotten how to smile. Don't keep me waiting, lying here aching. Don't say it's over now. You left me shattered, nothing else matters. Don't say it's over I don't know what happened to us, baby. I can't put your face back in my eyes. The days are long, the nights are never ending. Forgotten how to smile. Don't keep me waiting, lying here aching. Don't say it's over now. You left me shattered, nothing else matters. Don't say it's over now. Don't leave me waiting, lying here aching. Don't say it's over now. Don't say it's
Yeah, right. Okay, so that's where we're up to at the moment with the mix. I've got a lot that I want to tweak and play about with on that. I'm sure Lorelei's going to say she thinks it sounds fine as it is, but she thinks it sounds fine as it is. But I'm going to break it down and go through. Trev's on as well, and so many people. Thank you for watching. Right, so I've moved the start point. It's annoying. Right, so I'm going to go through and kind of break it all down and see where we're at with it. I'll quickly play you, not in the unused stuff. Where is it? This was the demo that Lorelei did that she gave me and went, have a listen to this, what can we do with it? So you can see where we started with a demo that I had no part in recording. I'll just play you a little bit of it. you get an idea of, just to give you an idea, that was a demo there, and then obviously it ended up. So it ended up sounding quite different, but it's got the same chord sequence and it's the same tempo. Just gonna have a lovely sip of water. Oh, by the way, just in case anyone wondered what I was showing up at the camera while we were doing the first playback there, I just won a game of chess. So yeah, I was pleased with myself. So I was showing you my my checkmate. Anyway, where were we? Mixing. Yes, that's what I'm here to do. So let's start again with the drums. I quite often start with the drums. I've got the drums all grouped in a group here called All Drums, and I've got Crunch Drums, and I've got Drums. Anyone who watched yesterday's feed would see that I parallel compress the drums, so I've got all the drums going to a group that then sends to the Crunch Drums, and then both of those are summed together into the All Drums category. And just bringing in those crunch drums just gives a presence to the whole thing, and they're just really super compressed, crazy compressed. So it's like they're almost distorting, and then I just feed them underneath the sort of the cleaner drum sound, and it sounds amazing. So I'm doing the same setup here on that. I mean, it's slightly different in terms of I haven't got the because they're room mics. I've got them grouped to a group here. I've only got one central overhead. So let's go through all of the drums. The bass drum on this, because of the way it was recorded, it wasn't a great mic, to be honest, and it sounded pretty bad. So I just got rid of the original bass drum, which I'll play you here. It's probably not even coming out. Yeah, I haven't even got it going to an output, so let me send it to an output. No, oh yeah, I need to re-solo it. So. Well, it's not too bad, but I just wasn't happy with it. It sounded a little bit... I don't know, it just had a lot of flappy sub on it that I didn't like. So I ended up triggering it for with a sample, so it became... And I used a free plugin to get the actual triggered notes, which is called the KT Drum Trigger, which is fantastic, and it basically creates a MIDI input out of peaks of a wave. And then you can record those MIDI notes back onto another track, and then replace it with an electronic sample. So so yeah, so you can see the kit now has an electric bass, or not electric, but a triggered bass drum. And I did the same with the snare, although I've got the snare mic in. But there's a lot of background noise because of the room I was recording in. It was just really reflective, and I was trying to dampen it down, but it really wasn't ideal. So there's a lot of spill coming through the snare drum. So I also put a trigger underneath that. So both those together. So you get a bit of the original snare drum sound, but you also get the snap from a trigger. Everything else is as is. We got a hi-hat mic there that's actually being played this today, unlike yesterday, so I can't use it as an under-snare mic. And then I've got two tom mics, which were both condensers from my memory, quite sort of large capsule condensers, but the toms were really big. So that was yeah, that was great. The overhead, if I turn the EQ off on it, listen to that depth. That's a single overhead just over the top of the snare. That's my Rode K2. In fact, let me go and get it so I can show it to you. Right, this here, I'll swap the camera angle to, well, not the angle, but swap the screen This here is my Rode K2. I've had loads of mics over the years. I've got some Neumann stuff, but I actually A/B'd this against a U47 that a friend of mine had, and man, sorry, wrong screen. Man, it was it just blew it away. It's got such depth, and that overhead there that you're hearing is that one microphone over the top. If I put the take the EQ out, and I just like something about having a single mic that picks up the whole kit as a single instrument. That's nice. And then I've got two room mics here, which if I turn off the EQs and compression and stuff on them, you can just listen to them. I just wanted them to sound a bit roomier, so I've added some reverb and what EQ have I got going on there? Loads of pre-delay on it, again trying to push the reverbs away from the drums. So that's what I've got going on there. If I play the beginning, you'll hear the tom sounds as well. But with the rooms, because the overheads pick up a lot of that tom sound as well. So when you get all the drums together, I'll just solo the group. I think I just heard something there that I want to change. I think that MIDI trigger there is just a touch out of time on that one bass drum. Yeah, it's very slightly late, so let me just nudge that back a tiny bit. No, let me just line it up exactly. Velocity down on it a bit, so it's accenting. That one stood out a bit. Cool. Right, I'll go with that for now. I've also got in here. Let me turn the drums off there for a second. I've also got in here a shaker track. I love putting in little shakers and percussion in general over drums. It just sounds great. And then I've got a little bit of a shake at the end of it, so when the shaker stops, it just trails off. And that's all programmed using a plugin, a sample set called Shireen or Shireen. I don't know how to pronounce it, but yeah, it's really good. It's the same people that do the Mercury piano, which I also bought a while back. I heard a demo of that and was just, wow, that Mercury piano sounds great. So I got that, and they were offering this kind of shaker and tambourine library for about 15 quid. And I got it, and it sounds really nice, and it's got all sorts of preset patterns, and so it works really nicely. So that's kind of the way the drums are done. I want to remove a little bit of the slap off that that bass drum, the triggered one, because it just still sounds a little bit too slappy to me. So I'm just going to do some work on that. What I might do is, like I did with the acoustics yesterday, I might have something with a really wide Q, so it kind of boosts the whole thing, and then move up and down between the frequencies to just kind of tip the EQ one side to the other, because I like the sound. It just needs a little bit more bottom end or a little bit more top end, depending on what the point in the song is. Yeah, it becomes more toppy. Yeah, that sounds better. It's a little bit more solid now. Don't want to take up take off too much attack, but let's have a listen to all the drums together now. Oh, that floor tom's really not working for me at all. I'm turning it up way past there, which means whatever I was doing during the tracking is yeah, it's not putting out a good enough volume, so I'm going to bring that down and turn the master up on this a bit. I've got the master way down on that. Let's see. Bass drum's still annoying me. Sounds like it's just a little bit. I'm lining it up with where he played it, but maybe he played it a bit early. No, I'm making it worse. Maybe it needs to be earlier. Oh, I'm going to put it back where it was. I'm messing. Hello, Jamie. How you doing? That floor tom. You like the floor tom? Just trying to make it a bit fatter. I wasn't overly happy with it. Just sounds like it's got no yeah, some of that top end, I don't know, but a lot of these settings here from when I was doing the tracking, so I might just get rid of this altogether. Yeah, that sounds a bit better. I'm going to replace that with a Q10 mono version, not stereo. Solo the tom. Oh yeah, there's a lot of nothing going on in that. Right, so I'm going to loop round that tom. This is going to be annoying for people listening because it's just going to be Bonnie hitting a tom over and over again. Yeah, great time to autosave. Come on. Don't crash on me. That'd be embarrassing. Thank God that's over, eh? I'm sure I lost a few viewers doing that. now that needs a serious level boost. Right, so everything's kind of getting louder than everything else at the moment. I don't want to be turning that. How much headroom have I got on that, Tom? I haven't. It's already peaking at 2.5. So, I have to basically destroy the drum mix to get that right. I'll come back to that. For now, I'm going to cheat and just turn it up. But I'm going to come back to that and re-level the drums so that they're not clipping anywhere. Okay, I did separate out the snare also to a snare drum 2 track for when he's doing the rim clicks, so I could treat them differently. Low shelf boost with dialed high pass sometimes works well. Are you talking about the floor tom, Trev? I'm kind of cutting out, if you look, I'm assuming you're talking about that. What I did really is just take out some of the real sub and then take out some of the ringy stuff, because I've got this plug-in here before which is actually doing a lot of the EQ. It's just there was a few horrible bits that I just wanted to remove. But I'm going to come back to that anyway. Let's move on to acoustic guitars. Now these acoustic guitars here, treated the same as we did the did the mix yesterday with. Oh, cross stick sounds good. Cheers, Jamie. I like the reverb. Yeah, that's why I cut the that out onto a separate track to treat it differently with the reverb. So yeah, that's good stuff. Martin, give me a shout sometime later, dude. Nice one. See you later, Martin. So the acoustic here, I've got treated the same as I did on the mix yesterday, where I've got a crunch version of it, just really, really over compressed, and I've got that quite quiet. It's about sort of minus 19, almost minus 20 at the moment, and then I've got the acoustics just sitting below 0 dB there, and then that sends off into the crunch channel. So if I mute the crunch channel for now, now bring in the crunch. Now, let me make that pre-fader. So that's the crunchy acoustics. They're just really over compressed and filthy. But with the cleaner acoustics, you get all your clarity back, but you still keep a presence from that sort of that parallel compressed channel there. I'm going to do the same on this as I did yesterday. This is the EQ for the acoustics. I haven't really got a frequency spare on that because I've gone a little bit over the top. So I'm just going to go to a new plugin, a whole new one. I'm just going to put on one frequency that I'm going to boost and lower the Q, so it's just a nice boost there like that. And I'm just going to sweep it backwards and forwards like I did on what was I doing that on? I was doing that on the bass drum, wasn't I? So I'm going to do that on the acoustics here. So that would be kind of toppy, and that's more boomy. Yeah, I like that. It's just giving it a nice kind of middle presence and stopping it sounding quite as shrill. That was sounding a little bit shrill to me. Obviously, I'd already done some processing on it, so I'd got it most of the way I wanted it, but sometimes just something wide over the top makes the whole thing work. This was recorded, I believe, through the K2 mic. I doubled it. I recorded it twice, and it was recorded with my little baby Martin guitar. Tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to load up my website here so I can show you, hopefully show you the guitars that I'm talking about. Acoustic, hang on, have I got this one on my... Yeah, so this is the little Martin acoustic. There it is. I don't know why I used that guitar. I think it was because it was sitting behind me. I don't think there was any actual kind of sound or conscious thought process particularly that went behind that. It was just I was feeling lazy and it was literally there. So that's this guitar. And it sounds pretty fat, to be honest. I mean, the ones we were doing yesterday, I recorded with a Fender acoustic, which is this one here. And, yeah, obviously they sound different, but I wouldn't say this one as a Baby Martin sounds tiny compared to the Fender one. I'm going to do a low cut, or a high pass, should I say, before the crunch channel, because it's really reacting to those low frequencies, and I don't want it to, not quite as much. Now I can turn up the crunch channel a bit more than I had it, because the bottom end's not sucking all the dynamics out of it. But now maybe I need to do that. Okay, right, so let's have a look at the bass. So I've got two different basses on this. I've got so this one here is Ricky playing bass is he using? I doubt Ricky's watching this, but if you are, Ricky, what bass did you use? I think he was using my Jazz. Let me have a look and see. I've got a Marcus Miller signature bass that looks something like that. And I think that's this bass, and I've kind of distorted it a bit to try and make it sound old. I want it to, I don't know, I just want it to sound filthy. So it contrasts the verse, where the verse is a fretless bass, which is his. So they're both in different bits of the song. So let's listen to the drums and the bass and the acoustics all together and just see how that sounds. Before it gets too covered up with other stuff, I just need to take you to my favourite bit of bass playing that Ricky has ever done. Bonnie did a triplet fill, and he just did the most random bass triplet bit, and every time I hear it, it makes me laugh. But it's fantastic. It's in this section here. Coming up here, I'm going to mute the acoustics so you can hear that in all its glory. I just love that. I mean, that's just so Ricky, and I can see the face he's pulling while he's playing it, you know, and he probably gets the end of it and go, ah! Oh dear. Right, so someone tag Ricky. I'm talking about him and he's not watching. Ginger twat. Right. Where are we? So yeah, there's the bass. That's what I was doing. Bass, drums, and acoustics together. Trev's just gone. Ah! Trev's our front of house sound guy for Ozzy Floyd, and he's watching the feed. And yeah, people are now tagging Ricky.
He's gonna be like, "What do you want?"
Yeah, go away. I hope he doesn't hate me for calling him a ginger twat. I've never done that before.
Yeah, right.
Every day, right? One of those I'm playing minor and one I'm playing major, but I've never noticed that before, so I'm going to leave it in. They're the kind of nice mistakes that end up in songs that there's loads of them. Listen to Queen songs, listen to old Beatles stuff and Led Zeppelin songs or whatever. They're just full of little tiny clashes and mistakes that in the whole melee of it doesn't seem to make a huge amount of difference. I'm not talking about sound mistakes, because sometimes you can get frequencies that just go off and sounds bloody awful, but I'm talking about playing mistakes. There's plenty of them out there. So that's the major one. I know autosave's good, but when it's a project this size, it becomes annoying because I can't play back. There we go. Yeah, that's a minor. I'm playing a minor there, and it's. Should I fix it? Shouldn't I? You all decide. Tell me. Should I fix my mistake by dragging in a chord from a previous bit, or should I leave it in as a bit of character? I'm all for leaving it in myself. Yeah, Lorelei likes it in as well. It's those kind of things. Listen to old Stones records. I mean, they're all over the place. I love that bit in Satisfaction where he goes to put the fuzz on to do the dun, dun, and he's a bit late. So the first note of the riff is without the fuzz, and then the fuzz kicks in later. And it's like, you know that the guy was there in the room actually pressing the pedal with his foot. So I love those bits in songs. So yeah, I'm leaving it in. Trevor says leave it as well, so there we go. It sounds great.
I have a memory of us discussing this when you did it.
No, but I changed one of the chords to major that you had minor. We did discuss that, but I changed that everywhere. But that's just a mistake.
Oh, okay.
That's just me.
I thought that was the same change.
It could have been. It could have been that I played it once minor, but the rest of it's become major. I thought that was on the chorus. That I can't remember anyway. It doesn't matter. I'm getting lost. Right, guitar. So the first electric guitar that we've got on this is me trying to do my old kind of 60s bit, and I like a little sort of like almost Motown-y type bit, and I've got Guitar Rig on this because this was before I had the software from Dave. I had the Amplitude software, but this I've got like a delay that comes out. I think is this. Oh no, these are the swells. Sorry, these aren't the little stabs. Hang on. So this is with a volume pedal and a load of delay, and I just swell up the guitar with the volume pedal. It's basically what I do for 80% of Sorrow when we play that live. I'm just kind of fading in the chords, and it kind of sounds a bit keyboard-like with Sorrow because it's a slower song, but on this you can hear them. So that's yeah. And it's all through the verses as well, so. And this guitar here, the second one, was the one that I was talking about that's like a little Motown-y type thing. And this has got a kind of a reverb that happens on the other side. So the ding comes in on one side, and then you get it coming on the other side. Oh no, that's not that guitar either. I'm going to go to that guitar because I've talked about it so much now that I feel bad if I don't play it to you. It's actually guitar 12, so it was one of the later things I did. All right, so ignore me for saying all that. Here we go. And I really, and you don't really hear the delay so much when there's other instruments in. So it's here. Bang, bang. So that's just in there kind of with a spring reverb on it to make it sound really old. That's the idea. It's all meant to sound old. And then I've got this guitar here, which was the one that I thought that was because it's the wave's very kind of definite. I mean, a lot of these ideas were things I was just whacking down as ideas, and then I put it in the mix and it sounded all right. So there's plenty of sloppy playing on this. But honestly, if you listen to a lot of the biggest albums, particularly from older albums, yeah, there's a lot of sloppy playing on those too. And in the mix with the other instruments, you don't really notice how bad I am. And later on, I kind of expand that a little bit. So I'm up the octave. Just playing random notes really with a bit of delay on. It kind of sounds nice in the background. It gives it a texture to it.
I love the texture.
Yeah, she likes that, so that's good. So what's next? What was the third guitar I did? Okay, so that's a rhythm part behind my solo. So originally, well, I'm going to play you here what I call the Hendrix guitars, which actually, although I've labelled them Hendrix guitars because they're kind of Hendrixy, I was actually listening to Skunk Anansie, Weak As I Am, before, and also, I've forgotten their other big song that's that had some great guitar on it. But Weak As I Am, I was definitely listening to, and I don't know, I kind of mashed that in a bit with Hendrix because there's some Hendrixy style stuff on Weak As I Am. So that's what I ended up doing over the intro. But that wasn't my original idea, and I don't remember this particularly. But when I was cleaning up this multi-track and making a folder of unused stuff, just to clear stuff out the way for this stream, I found these 4 tracks called Harmony guitars, which don't appear anywhere else in the song. So I think the numbering is G4, G5, G6, and G7, and then I start doing the Hendrixy stuff at G8 and G9. So I think at some point, before I did the Hendrixy stuff, I had the idea of doing something like this over it. Which is, I don't know. I mean, I don't think it suits the song now the way we've gone, but it's just nice to listen back and I've got no recollection of that at all. I'll say remember doing it, but I don't remember doing it. But in the track, it kind of would have sounded like this. And I can kind of see why I abandoned it, because the Hendrix guitars definitely sound much better.
And also it takes away from the keyboard line.
It does take away from the keyboard line. It just becomes a swamp. Remember, at this time, I didn't have the keyboard line. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. It was just one of those things. Sometimes,
it's a cool idea, though.
Sometimes you've got to do stuff, and even if it sounds good, it might not sound good in context. And you've just got to be rough. And you could spend ages doing a whole load of guitars or whatever vocals and just go, this just isn't good enough, I just need to redo this. And there's plenty of that goes on. So we jumped straight from G3 to G8 now, because I got rid of those Harmony guitars, and as I said, they're the Hendrixy ones. So I replaced all the Guitar Rig plugins on these with Amplitude when I got that, because it just sounds so much better. And I've got my old favourite plugin, the Room Machine, back on these guitars to make you feel like you're sitting in the room with them. I've got a tiny bit of a boost around 780 again on a low Q just on these guitars, and that's the overall EQ. I've because both guitars are the same plugin and just panned left and right. They're not entirely left and right, but or sort of left and right. I'm processing them all in one group because it, just makes it easier. I don't have to change the EQ in two places if I want to do something. So that was guitar 8 and guitar 9. So guitar 10, what's guitar 10? Guitar 10 is my solo, I think. I have no idea what pedals I used to do that. Considering it was a while ago, it probably wasn't with the custom pedal boards Muff War. I probably used a Pete Cornish P2, P1, and I probably used some sort of compressor before it. I've got a feeling guitar-wise, I don't know. I wish I should note these things down. I've got a feeling it was my 72 Strat. Again, that's because that was what was in the room. I know the rhythm parts, the Hendrix bits, were all done on my 72 Strat. So I'm going to assume that the lead was done on it as well, just because that was the guitar in the room. Saying that, I've got vague memories now of it being my 73 Strat, so I don't know. And then I've got a second lead G10B, which is basically the same thing, but I just want to treat it slightly differently. So. So there's kind of two places I get solos. So that's guitar 10 and guitar 10B. What's G11? Oh, this is my menacing. Just keeping some sort of chuggy power chords. I'd forgotten I'd done that. That's so quiet in the mix you can hardly hear it, but doesn't bother me. It's probably doing something. I'll have a listen. G12, I played you earlier. And then I've got these bits where she sings "Face Back in My Eyes," or is that the lyric?
Yeah.
Yeah, and the other line at the end, I added some big stereo guitars. And they were the Gold Top Les Paul, because that was the most recent addition. And again, that was sitting next to me. I really should stop selecting what guitar to play on things based on what's closest. Should base it on the sound. No, I do base it on the sound sometimes, but sometimes you're just like, oh, you just need a Strat, and if there's a Strat in the room, you just pick up a Strat, you know. Man, I could probably spend all day just having option anxiety over which guitar to use if I didn't just make a decision. Right, here we go. Piano. So the next thing on the list is the piano, which is sort of bathed in reverb at the beginning, which is on a send here. I've just stopped scratching my nose. They're saying don't touch your face. Then again, I haven't been out, so it makes no difference, but I've just got an itch on my nose. Just realised people are watching me scratching my nose. So that's quite reverby there, and then I turn it down after that, turn the reverb down a little bit after that. So there's this sort of delay on it. Which to me is just adds to the texture of the whole thing when you're dealing with guitars like, I mean, that together. And again, he's playing the minor chord there. That's the chord we were talking about, where I changed it to a major. It was there in the verse. And he's playing the minor chord, and I'm playing the major chord. But the clashes between the minor and the major third just give it this sound that's really nice. I don't know. I mean, you get that in Smoke on the Water. Obviously, you know Smoke on the Water, the Deep Purple song. When it does the C to G sharp, they never discussed whether the G sharp was major or minor.
Right.
So the guitar's playing it major and the organ's playing it minor, or the other way round. And there's just this clash between them when you listen to that song, which works.
Right.
And they said they just never had a chat about it. They were just jamming it loud in the room and never knew. Anyway, yes, Chris is watching and said it sounds a bit like Sing. Good to have the piano vibe from Sing. Yes, I agree. Sing is a wonderful song by Blur, one of my favourite Blur songs and Chris's favourite Blur songs. And then we've got an organ channel here. You'd have to ask Dave, who played the organ, whether this is real Hammond or software. I don't hear a lot of noise on it, so I'm kind of assuming it's software, but it sounds really good, so I'd like to know which.
I don't know, but we'll have to ask him.
So this was... It's got some crunch of a real one, but it's getting to the point now where I can't tell. It's the key click. I mean, listen to that. When it runs down, you really hear the key click of the individual notes.
Yeah.
Frank says, "Hi, Lorelei, nice to see you again." She hasn't actually been anywhere. She's literally just been sitting in the background replying to your messages. So just because she's not on camera doesn't mean she's not here.
What about if you have playing with weighted keys? Wouldn't that do it?
No. No, there's an option on an organ to have key click, where it adds a little click to the beginning of each note, and I'm listening to that key click, and it sounds really authentic. So if that's a plug-in, I'm really impressed with that plug-in. So we need to find out what he did on that. But I've recorded in Rogue, back in the studio when I had Rogue, and when John Paul was around, we had a proper C3 and a 147, which Jason recorded through in Germany when we did the audio album as well, and it's just... A real Hammond is just...
I know.
You know, I mean, you've played in bands with real Hammonds, and they are, more for the people out here, compared to a plug-in, there's just something about them. And the plug-in that Dave Kersner gave me, the IK Multimedia one, sound the closest I've ever heard to one. But this one, it's just that key click, that run down there. That's lovely. So it's a lovely organ sound. Again, in the melee of everything that's going on. So let's get the pianos. Let's get some of my kind of trippier guitars. I'll get the acoustics on. We get the bass and the drums. That organ just sounds lush. Compressing it too much, it was peaking up here. It was kind of doing like 5 dB of gain reduction. Again, a lot of this is from when we were tracking and I was putting stuff in quickly. So I just wasn't hearing the dynamics of where he's playing coming out, so I've just backed that off a bit. Now I'm getting like a little scratchy frequency in the top end, which is annoying me in that. Oh, yeah. Oh, there's a whistle. The kettle was definitely on there. For all Americans, a kettle is a thing that you boil water in, by the way. And back in England, you'd have a kettle and you'd put it on the stove and have a little thing over the top so that when the water boiled, the vapour would come out really fast and make a whistling noise, and that's how you knew to go and turn your kettle on. So if you get a whistling frequency in something, I go, oh, the kettle's on. That's a very British thing. Yeah, so I just want to get rid of that. I can hear the clarity of it now. I can turn it up without it sounding bloody horrible. The organ, I've got automation on the channel turning it up and down, so if I move the fader, it's just going to spring back. So to turn that up globally, I just used the makeup gain of the plug-in, of the compressor on the end, so that it turns up the whole thing without me having to sit there and mess around with the automation. Okay, I've got a group here, a vocal group, which is called Lead and Harmonies, which is all this kind of slightly lighter pink stuff going on. There's quite a lot going on vocally with this. One thing I said I'd do in the stream yesterday is parallel compress the vocals, and then I didn't parallel compress the vocals. I went, oh, I'll do that in a minute, and then I never actually did because I don't think it needed it. But in this one, I've got loads of parallel compression and loads of sort of doubling and all sorts of stuff going on in this. So yeah, let's have a listen. So
Waiting here in a mist of silence, wondering where you are.
okay, so with these vocals, these were not yesterday's cover of On the Turning Away was not recorded by me, and wasn't recorded using my equipment. I don't know what microphone was used or who did it, and the signal seemed like it had been pre-processed to some degree, but it had some EQ and compression on it. We didn't do that here. Lorelei went upstairs and did the vocals herself using her laptop and her sound card that I had, using my Rode K2, which is here. And I love the sound of this mic. It's got a lovely little valve preamp, and I cannot swear by it enough. And any Neumann I've AB'd it to for vocals and acoustic guitar and drum overheads and stuff, it sounds so much better than. It's absolutely awful on guitar amps. All the frequencies it seems to bring out in guitar amps are all the ones you just want to chop out. So, but yeah, that was done with this. So I'm processing it slightly differently to yesterday because it's a totally different vocal in terms of the way it was recorded. So I've got a lot more EQ going on for a start. I'm pulling out all sorts of frequencies, and this is for the verse. And she was very close to the mic. You can hear a lot of breathiness in Lorelei's voice in this, which I really like. because it gives it that intimate feeling for the verse, and then I think she backs off in the bridge and backs off in the chorus. But because of the intimacy and being a female, that is your current gender, isn't it? You are a female. Okay, yeah. I didn't want to misgender you. So, Ricky joined. Hello, you ginger thing. Anyway, I used this the de-esser on it because there was a lot of sibilance coming through, and that was just really annoying me, and it was ruining what was otherwise a very, very nice vocal. EQ didn't really cut it, so...
Waiting here in a mist of silence.
You see, if I turn off the de-esser, you'll go the mist, and all that will come out, and it will sound horrible.
Waiting here in a mist of silence.
And put the de-esser on, and that really brings that down and keeps those tss under control.
Waiting here in a mist of silence, wondering where you are.
Seeing as Ricky's on, I just want to shout back, because Ricky's watching, to my favourite bass that he did in this song. I'm just going to give him another shout for this. I know some of you saw this earlier when I did it. This fill here. Bit of genius bass there from Ricky. Anyway, back to the vocals. So yeah, I whacked quite a significant de-esser over the verses, and then I've got a 76 on it, just sort of compressing it once at the moment.
Day after day, although we're not together.
But because I want it to sound old, if I want it to sound kind of more contemporary, I'd have 2, 3, 4 subtle compressors all working in different places. But because I want it to sound old, I just got one compressor and then just really just went for it, and just loads of gain reduction. And then it gets compressed again later on in other groups and stuff. But I just thought it sounded right for this particular song to not double stack too much on the individual vocals.
Waiting here in a mist of silence, wondering where...
And of course that brings out all the breaths and all the stuff, which is why I needed the de-esser even more, because maybe if I wasn't compressing it so harshly, I'd be able to not use the de-esser, but it's kind of swings and roundabouts. I wanted that sound. And then it goes to the Harmonies group, which is here, where I've got an H delay, again, bit of ping pong H delay, same as yesterday. I've got a plate reverb, same as yesterday, what a surprise, with a pre-delay on it, nice bit of pre-delay. And then I've got a limiter over the whole of this thing after the reverbs. Now that's really important. If you're trying to get an old sound, a lot of the time,
waiting here
listen,
in a mist of silence, wondering where you are.
You can hear that the reverbs are really being compressed in with the audio signal. So when she sings, the vocals at the front, and the moment she stops singing or gets quiet, the reverbs are allowed to kind of swell up underneath. And back in the day when everything was coming through, valve channels on a desk, things were just compressing even when you didn't want them to compress, and it was part of the sound of the consoles at the time, and you ended up getting a lot of reverbs kind of when they were grouped, and vocals and reverbs together, and then they'd sometimes be put on tape with the reverb on it, and the tape would compress them. So I've just got this limiter here, really harsh. I'm going to take off the quantizing. Oh no! Dithering. I've already turned that off. So yeah, I'm using a limiter over it with the reverb before it and the delay before it to just get it to sound old. And then because I've got some automation on this track, I've put a blank EQ plug in just to be able to turn it up and down. And then I've got the left and the right, same as I did yesterday, where I took copies of her vocals and then put some tuning software over them so it makes them sound like two different vocals, and I delayed them slightly, and they've got all the same treatment. And they're panned left and right, and you mix them in with the original vocal.
Waiting here in a mist of silence, wondering where you are.
So that just thickens it up. So when you listen to that vocal in the mix, I'm hoping it kind of sounds a little bit more vintage than what we were doing yesterday with On the Turning Away.
Waiting here in a mist of silence.
I mean, it's not quite Shirley Bassey, but I'm talking about in the production. It's not like that kind of old school, really overdriven, overcompressed vocal with this enormous plate reverb. That's what I always think of when I think of Shirley Bassey, like some sort of Bond theme type thing. But it's
Shirley Bassey to me just means really loud, huge voice.
Yeah, but a lot of that loud, huge voice is coming from the overcompression and the distortion on the mic channel and the thing, you know. So obviously some of it is coming from her voice, but some of it's also coming from the equipment in the era where she was recording. And I'm kind of hinting towards that with this verse, but obviously because it's subtle, I'm not trying to get it like that. But I'm trying to get the same kind of compression and filth level on the vocal, if that makes any sense. Anyway,
It sounds warm.
It sounds warm, exactly. It's the warmth, because it's just in the same way that, you know, you describe a guitar sound as warm. If I plugged it straight into the mixing desk and it was straight out the guitar, it might sound harsh. You put it through an amp where it's actually distorting it and processing it through valves and making the signal technically inferior, but it sounds nicer. So that's I'm basically screwing up your vocal signal to make it sound nicer, and that's the plan.
Waiting here in a mist of silence, wondering where you are. A million miles lingering between us.
So we got some doubled backing vocals here. I'm going to bring that line up a touch. Just going to give it a little bit more gain. But yeah, we've got some backing vocals that come.
You are a million miles lingering between us, and I can't reach that far. Here I lay, emptiness surrounds me.
Notice how all those guitar mistakes that I was having problems with earlier just disappear the moment you put all the music in.
All alone, as if I'd never known you. Beauty torn apart. I don't know what happened to us, baby. I can't put your face back in my eyes. The days are long, the nights are never end.
So this is more interesting. The bridge is more interesting vocally. So I think I've got the first channel, which is the same as the verse. I've processed it pretty much the same as the verse.
I don't know what happened to us, baby.
But then I've also got one here that says bridge distorted, which I think is a double. I don't know that. Oh no, it is a copy. It's a copy. You didn't re-sing it.
I don't know what happened to us, baby. I can't put your face back in my eyes.
So it's really quite distorted. If I turn the delay off that, you can hear how distorted it is.
I don't know what happened to us, baby. I can't put your face back in my eyes.
So I mean, not like distorted like a guitar would distort, but it's it's pretty filthy compared to the clean vocal, and I've got that delay over it as well, so it kind of sounds all slappy.
I don't know what happened to us, baby.
And I've got that mixed in underneath the main sort of cleaner vocal.
I don't know what happened to us, baby. I can't put your face back in my eye.
And again, it's edging closer to that old sort of 60s thing that I was looking for. Still sounding contemporary, but kind of having a nod to an older way of doing it. And then I've got these left and right vocals that are the same thing that I did on the lead vocal, where they're sort of messed with pitch-wise and they just sound like doubles.
I don't know what happened to us.
And you put all those four together and you get this bridge vocal.
I don't know what happened to us, baby. I can't put your face back in my eyes. The days are long, the nights are never.
And you hear all the breathing in between. And all that breathing and all that reverb swells up in between the bits of vocals, which to me is gives it the character that I was looking for in this particular song. Right, so chorus vocals. I've got.
Don't keep me waiting, lying here aching. Don't say it's over now.
Right, so this one I just go full on distortion. I've got a parallel copy here.
Don't keep me waiting, lying here aching. Don't say it's over now.
See how clean this sounds on its
Don't
own?
keep me waiting, lying here aching.
And I put that one in.
Don't say it's over now.
And it doesn't sound distorted because the clean one's on top of it, but it just adds some filth, which in the chorus with all the other instruments just gets huge, makes it sound huge. I've got the same left and right, pitchy left,
Don't keep me waiting.
which are mixed a lot higher this time around because I want it to sound big. And then I've actually got a double. She sung a double.
Don't keep me waiting.
Which I've put some delay on. Again, that's a nod to the bridge. So the idea being is it's like the bridge and then, the verse, then the bridge, then the chorus, and it builds each time. So each new instance of Lorelei singing has another layer of stuff to kind of try and make it sound bigger. So let's have a listen through to all of that. Oh, she's got some backing vocals as well underneath. It's just auto-saving at the moment. So we've got some backing vocals going on under here, which are just panned left and right. There's no oohs yet, so yeah.
I can't put your face back in my eyes.
And you see when it kicks in on the chorus,
The nights are never ending. Forgotten how to smile. Don't keep me waiting, lying here aching. Don't say it's over now.
I'm going to turn the left and rights down.
You left me shattered. Nothing else matters. Don't say it's over now. Day after day, although we're not together.
This bit of organ coming up here is just stunning. I love that. I love that bit, and as you can see, I boosted it significantly in the mix. I tried to boost the wave, and when I couldn't boost the wave anymore, and then of course when I had a compressor on it, that wouldn't have worked. I then did some automation and just brought it up because
You stay on my mind.
Which version of Cubase am I using? I'm using 5.5 to do this session. I also have a later one, I think it's 8.5. But I've got these old Waves plugins for like version 6 or version 7 when it was all iLock key and stuff like that. and they don't have 64-bit support. I don't think the old version of the Waves plugins I've got don't have 64-bit support, from what I remember, which is why I can't use a lot of my favourite stuff in the later versions of Cubase. So I do a lot of editing in the later versions of Cubase because the editing facilities are amazing, and if I want some instruments, I'll do all that. But for mixing, I'm still sticking with a bit of software I had back in like 2009 or something like that. Gets the job done. There's only so many ways that you can process signals, and yeah, it's. I've used other things. I used to be a massive fan of Logic. I used Logic for many years, but I believe Apple have now ruined that. And Apple and Logic and Cubase seem to have swapped for me. Logic used to be the professional one, and Cubase was like the home use one, and now Cubase are Steinberg are just producing the best, in my opinion, DAW, and Logic's just become too much like a toy, in my opinion. I've never got on with Pro Tools. I've used it a few times. In fact, I had to use it a lot on this to transfer files over because a lot of these things were done in Pro Tools, but it's just lacking facilities out the box. I mean, I love the fact that in Cubase you can just double click on a bit of wave and instantly start tuning vocals. You don't need a third party bit of software, the MIDI capabilities and the instruments and stuff in Cubase are all there. Pro Tools just seems like an archaic hangover from the days before computers were fast enough to properly process audio. And the same thing's going on between Avid and Premiere, I think. People used Avid to edit videos, and then Final Cut came out, which was kind of the equivalent of Logic, I suppose, and then Premiere was there, and now most people use Premiere, and entirely software-based non-linear editing is much more standard compared to sort of hardware-based stuff that Avid were doing back in the day. So Avid also make Pro Tools, so I think they're just stuck in their ways. But the thing is that a lot of people use Pro Tools, so it's a constant thing all the time. People in studios are using it. People are going to use it, but I don't. I like Cubase. So sorry for that rant there. Someone asked me about Cubase, and I've got no interest in defending myself using old software. People go, why don't you upgrade to the latest version? Well, because I don't. Use your ears, not your eyes. If it sounds good, it's fine. Right, where was I? So we're coming up to the chorus here. Right, so I've noticed something interesting that I did on here, which I do a lot, which is just turn the volume up and down, and I'd actually got rid of all the plugins I'd put over the end of the mix, with the exception of the L2, which I just left in to limit the whole thing so it doesn't distort for you. But actually, this here turns the song up and down, so I'm literally turning the volume down for the verses, and then up a bit for the bridge, and then back up to standard volume for the chorus, and then back down again for the verse. And it gives a dynamic effect of the song sort of coming down and coming up at certain points. And it's really crude. It's literally just turning the volume up and down of the whole song. So you'll hear that. Now I've turned that back on, you'll hear it happen. So it's just a little bit quieter. You hear it go back up a little bit for the bridge. So you get a lift there for the bridge, and then when it goes into the chorus, and again, just a lift. It's subtle. We're talking, I mean, what is it? The verse is minus 2.5 dB compared to the choruses and the intro. The bridge is -1.2, and then the main song just sits at 0. So yeah, it's just like 2 and a bit dB on the verses and 1 and a bit dB on the bridges, just down, and it gives some impact. Back in the day, you'd literally just be on the master faders and just turn up the fader and then turn it back down again at certain points. So the other bit that I haven't, you've heard, but I haven't soloed at all, are the oohs, which is high, high, low, low, and low. I've got 3 lows and 2 highs. I'm assuming some of those are mid, and I've not labelled them correctly. Right, no, so I haven't done that, though they are all low, and then we've got 2 high ones. Oh, the things I could say about those vocals that would be far too crude to put in a stream like this. Let's just say, if anyone's got any fantasies about Lorelei, just just solo this bit over again. Just do this. Sorry, Lorelei. Yeah. We've actually had more people leave the stream, so that's telling. I'm glad we're friends, Lorelei, because I wouldn't want you to ever be offended by my humour. You're used to it by now. Right. So I'm really doing a lot on this. I've got delay and some reverbs and all sorts of stuff going on. The EQ is just like that. They're all being grouped. I've got the de-esser going on heavily on that. I've got quite a harsh compressor going on again to try and get that kind of sound, but I've got a bus compressor, and then I've got the delay where you're getting that and it's kind of repeating backwards and forwards. So you kind of get the delay coming back there. That sounds wonderful, and it's kind of all compressed in, and then I've got this CLA effects here, which I've got this tape phase on. I've got a bit of hall reverb there, and then I've got the tape phase. Now, this tape phase on this CLA effects plugin is one of my favourite. It just for sounding old, and psychedelic. I mean, if I turn that up, listen. Oh, it's still in that loop. I mean, that is proper, like, that to me is just like that phasing that you get on something like Wheels of Fire or something like that. Wheels on Fire, Wheels of Fire, Wheels on Fire. You know the song that they use for Absolutely Fabulous? That's obviously, that was re-recorded for that. But yeah, that's got some great phasing on that on that song. And I'm trying to recreate something like that on the backing vocals. So that's all the parts of the song. I've been through all the parts of the song, and I just want to have a listen through. I've made some tweaks to it, and I've shown you certain things on how it's put together. I've turned off all the crap that I had over the stereo out, with the exception of a small bit of limiting, and that EQ plugin, which isn't EQing it; it's just turning it up and down at certain points in the song. Yeah, I mean, I'm still going to do a little bit of work on these drums, I think, later on, because I don't like the fact that they're clipping internally, even though it's got a bit of headroom, because it transports at 32-bit.
When
there's a few splutters because I'm running loads and loads of plugins, particularly on guitars. I mean, I've got guitars in there that I'm not even using, that I've got Guitar Rig or an Amplitude plugins. So I'm going to start freezing some stuff. Freezing is where you basically you bounce the whole track with the plugins on it and then turn all the plugins off so your computer's not processing in real time. So I'm just going to do this to some of these guitars. I'm unlikely to change any of this, and I can always go back and change if I need to, but to me they all sound fine. So I'm going to click freeze there, and yeah, just lighten the load of the computer a little bit here, and then we can have a listen through to the whole thing and see where we're at. Yeah, let's take some time. There we go. Lovely. So you see that will now kind of colour it slightly differently, and I can't change any of the plugins or anything, but it doesn't matter because, I mean, if I wanted to unfreeze it, I could just click on there and make changes, but I'm just going to do these to a few things that I'm running. So I do it to my Hendrix guitars. I think if I just remove 2 or 3 guitars worth of processing, it'll probably play without any stutters. I don't want to have to keep turning the latency up, because then I forget, and then when I want to do tracking, I've got to turn the latency back down again. And I hope you're finding my waffle entertaining while we wait for a computer to process. I seem to spend half my life watching things go from 0% to 100% on computers. I'm sure you all do too. It's one of the dullest things ever. Anyone got any jokes? I could tell a joke. Oh. No, Lorelei doesn't have any jokes. I'll tell you a joke. No, I won't, actually. Oh, hang on a minute. What's going wrong? Oh, I think the the stream disappeared while I was doing that processing. That's interesting. That's interesting. The stream disappeared while I was doing the processing, so none of you probably heard me request a joke to, you know. But that's interesting to know for future, that the if you want to waffle, then waffle away. Yeah, well, I was waffling while it was processing because there was nothing else to do, but I think the stream cut out, which is a shame. Right, let's have a listen through to the whole thing. I hope you're all still with me after that little drop there. Make a comment, Lorelei. Just tell people that it's not going away.
What do you mean it's not going to?
I meant on the computer type because the stream cut.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Ozzy said he could have told China you'd have problems from eating bats. Yeah, no, that's the problem. Most of my jokes are far too bad taste to say in a stream like this. And shortest joke you can type. Yeah. Oh, okay. Ozzy said he could have told China you'd be... Yeah, the problem is it wasn't really from eating bats. It's so that joke is both technically incorrect and spreads misinformation. So no score there, Jason. Give me something filthier. Come on, I want a better joke than that. Right, let's have a listen through. I'm going to stop waffling.
Waiting here
Cool. That's really getting there. Right, I want to do something now on the whole mix overall. Something which I've not tried with this, but again, it's in the thing of, like, the drums sound very, well, I wouldn't say very contemporary, but they sound more contemporary than the rest of it. And I don't mind that so much because I want it to have the punch that the rest of the album's got. But there's still a feel of vintage about this that's not on some of the other songs. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to change my routing a little bit. I'm going to create a new group. In fact, this group here, group 9, I don't think anything's going to group 9. Let's have a look. There's no plugins on it. Group 9, group 9, group 9. No, so I'm going to assume group 9 is something I created and then never used. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send this all drums, which at the moment is going to stereo out. I'm going to send that to group 9. I'm going to send the music also to... no, in fact, I'm not going to do that. Sorry, I'm going to go back there, change that. I'm going to make a send for all drums to go to group 9. I'm going to have the send for the music also go to group 9, number 9. And I'm going to have all vocals go to group 9 as well. And this is going to be called Distorted Mix. So basically I'm going to have a channel of the entire mix just really screwed up. That's what I'm going to try and do now. I'm going to put all these pre-fader so I can turn down the individual volumes. So these are about sort of -2.7, -2.8. I'm not overly bothered about preserving those settings perfectly at the moment. So I'm going to pull that down, pull the music down, pull the vocals down. So in theory, we shouldn't hear anything at the moment if I mute that distorted mix. So AC crunch should be going to music, which it's not. Right, so I've got a reverb as well that this is sending to. Where is my reverb? I've got some effects here, so that's going to the drums, that's going to stereo out, so I need to send that to music. So in theory, yeah, everything's silent now, so I've turned down my group of all vocals, all music and all drums, and I've sent them to this thing called Distorted Mix. So if I now listen, we're only going to be hearing what's coming through this group here called Distorted Mix. And I can turn up and down the individual parts of that by using the sends. So I've got the drums, the music and the vocals. And I'm really going to just do some filthy stuff with this. The first thing I'm going to try is there's a mastering plugin that I love. The Maserati Group Stereo. Oh, that's not coming up. Why is that? Maybe after some freezing, it all crashed a little bit. Sometimes if I'm running, oh, the project is corrupt. That's worrying. Okay, I'm going to take a break. I'm not going to stop the stream. I'm just going to take a break for 2 minutes and just have a little reboot, and then I'll be back. This was bound to happen sooner or later. So yeah, back in a second. just so you know, I'm just doing a bit of a reboot at the moment, so, you know, hopefully it should only take a couple of minutes, so don't run away from the stream. This is only going to be probably another minute or two. Okay, it's just loading up now, so hopefully we haven't lost too many people with this.
I think we lost them all.
Did we?
I don't see anybody.
Well, according to this, there's still 10 people there.
Okay, well, whatever.
Doesn't matter, people will come back. We can watch it later.
I'm not worried.
Just waiting for this thing to load. There's a lot of stuff going on here, so it's taking a bit of its time to get there. Right, okay, so I'm back up. Let me go back to that screen. I really should learn these keyboard shortcuts. And right, I'm going to have to do this grouping stuff again. Where's my group 9? Or did I delete that? Right, all Vox. This isn't the same version. When was the last one here? Oh, this is on the Turning Away. I've loaded the wrong song. I'm looking at it going, where's the... Bloody hell. I truly am an idiot sometimes. Right, here we go. I was looking at it going, this doesn't look like... this doesn't look like my mix that I've just been working on. Yeah. It's because we crashed out of the software. Oh, I'd love the tea. Yeah, that would be wonderful. It's the joy of live streaming, eh? You get it as it's happening, raw, warts and all. Hope people appreciate that. If you appreciate it and you're still watching, give us a thumbs up, because there is a slickness to preparing it all, and then editing it all down. But then I don't get to interact and read your comments and stuff. So yeah, tough. You can put up with the crap. Come on. Here we go. Right, we're back up and running, I think, with this. There we go. Okay, I've got my group 9 there now, so I'm going to do all drums. I'm going to send to group 9, as I did before. Pre-fader, so I can turn the faders down. All drums to group 9, and all vocals to group 9 as well. And I'm going to call this distorted mix, and I'm going to save that there. Okay, so let's have a listen. So if I turn the drums down, turn the music down, turn all the vocals down, just get rid of them, and then I have distorted mix. See, having the sends on pre-fader means I can turn the fader up and down without affecting the send. If I have that off, as I turn the channel down, it also turns the send down. So I need to have these on pre-fader so they're sending to this distorted mix. Right, let's try that plugin I wanted to use again. I'm going to save it again, just to have it all set up. Should it crash again? Because it was when I put the plugin in that it went wrong. So I'm going to go to here and put this Maserati group, which worked this time. Lovely. Right, this is a great plugin, and you can use it really subtly. I used it on the drums on yesterday's mix really subtly, but you can also use it to just make everything sound filthy. So obviously that's completely inappropriate. That sounds totally just distorted and nasty on its own. But my theory is that what I'm lacking in the mix at the moment is coming from not having any of that. And you need some of that, not too much of it, but some of it. I'm just getting this back to kind of where we had it. So this distorted mix I've got off, and we should now get the... And if I put a little bit of that distorted mix in, right, it's really not liking playing. Right, all the stuff that I froze has been unfrozen, so everything I did after that's gone. I turned up the piano. I remember doing that, and I turned up the backing vocals. But we'll come back to that and watch back in the video and see what I did there and redo those last couple of bits. I'm just going to turn up the latency so it's so that it can process it all, because I've got a lot going on. Device setup. Oh, I've only got it on 256. Let me whack it up to 1024. Okay, lovely. This should play fine now. So this distorted mix, hopefully you can hear when it's not in, it all sounds quite nice and clean. But when I just put it in underneath, let me just mute it in and out and you should be able to hear. That's without. I put it in. Notice it even so much when it goes in, it's more when it comes out. You take it out and suddenly it feels like, oh, where's all the life gone from it? So it's currently in. I'll take it out. It's like, oh. done there? Have I sent the music to all the drums? Yeah, that sounds better. Don't know what I did there. That was an accident. Thought something was sounding really, really weird. I'll check that distorted mix again. All vocals. There we go. So there's our distorted mix again.
Waiting here in a mist of silence, wondering where you are. A million miles lingering.
So what I've done is on the distorted mix, I've taken out some of the music, which was because the music is just. I really want the vocals and the drums a bit louder in the distorted mix. So let's see how this.
Waiting here in a mist of silence, wondering where you are. A million miles lingering between us, and I can't reach that far. Here I lay.
Now if I pull that distorted mix out again, that's all the life drops out of it. Too much. You see a difference, like when I drop out, I've kind of done a distorted version of the mix. When I drop it out, it's like all the body drops out. It just mixes a little bit underneath, the whole mix distorted. If I drop it out, have a listen.
You stay on my mind.
So that's what it was.
I can taste your kiss.
You don't notice it when it goes in, but when it comes out, it's like, I'll pull it out again.
That was yours and mine. You pretend you don't feel what I'm feeling, so you run
Just goes.
and hide. A million years
And then you drop it out.
until I hold you.
It's like it. Just glues everything together. It's kind of like a filthy version of it that's gluing everything together. Smartphone isn't the best option. Yeah, don't listen on a smartphone. Put headphones in at least. You're not going to get. I mean, it's bad enough the sound quality over Facebook at the moment. It's streaming at 122 or 125.9 kbps with an AAC, which is reasonable for a stereo image, but you know, I'd rather it be 320 to be honest. That's what I'm streaming it out at 320, and I'm recording it at 320, so it will go on YouTube later at 320. Right, so yeah, let's. I'm just gonna have a listen through to the whole thing from the beginning because I think I'm getting to the point where I'm not going to make any more adjustments today. Need an ear break from it, and we're sort of about 2 and a bit hours into this stream, so that'll do. Don't want to go too crazy. Here we go. Oh, of course. Sorry, it was saving.
When
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's starting to sound good. I want to do some work on the toms. I'm just really not happy with the way the toms are sounding. I want to re-level some of that out. But other than the toms, I'm quite into that.
So maybe we should take an air break.
Yeah, I definitely need to take an ear break. Well, I think that's enough for the stream. I mean, I'm going to do a tweak on the toms, and I'll probably end up tweaking 1,000,001 other things, as I will in any of these tracks. And you know, when you buy the album, you'll hear it. But I think for the stream, for our purposes on this, you've been through the song, you've seen how it all put together, and so I've got some other bits coming up. Some people have contacted me to do their stuff, so I'm going to be listening to that. And I'll be doing a mix, and obviously that'll be completely from scratch. These last two that I did today and yesterday were already sort of pre-mixed, so anything I do that someone sends me will be completely from scratch, so that might be more interesting or might be less interesting for you. I might do a kind of a part one of setting up and then do a part two where it's already set up for those that want to dive in halfway through the process. If all the sitting there tweaking and going through frequencies bores you and stuff, I can get that. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I've also got some old songs that I was involved in that I want to do some refreshed mixes of. There's Adam's saying he dipped out for an ear break. I used to make you have ear breaks when we were in the studio, didn't I? It was good, and it's really important to have ear breaks. But yeah, I've got some songs that I did on the Dean Howard album back in 2004. We've got a song that we did with Danny Bowes from Thunder, and Ben Matthews from Thunder played on it as well, and Danny sang it. And I've got a song that I did with, Dean and I did with Ian Gillan from Deep Purple. And I think I'm going to pull those files out, because I haven't looked at those files for, 15 years, something like that. Probably longer. So I'm going to pull them out of the days of Logic 5 or whatever I was using back in those days. Line them up in Cubase and do a mix with... Yeah, Adam remembers that whole tour and the whole recording process, 2004. I think he's commenting now. So yeah, I'm gonna do a mix of those songs. So you'll hear some of the lead singer of Deep Purple, Ian Gillan. You'll hear him and Danny from Thunder doing some vocals on some tracks that I was involved in. There's an old friend of mine's band called Cooper Brown, who I used to record loads. I did albums and albums for them back in the day when doing recording music was my full-time job. And I really loved. They were a 3-piece punk band, and there wasn't a lot of frills in it. It was like drums, bass, 2 guitars, a couple of vocals, and that's it. But man, they were powerful, and I really like their stuff. And I'm going to pick one of my favourite songs of them to. I'm going to pick some of them to do. Sorry, I got distracted by a comment. When are we doing our Shadows tribute? Mike Barnes says. I don't know if you've heard, Mike, but there's a lockdown going on at the moment, and we're all sitting in, hence I'm doing this. Secondly, and I don't mean to be disparaging towards you, my friend, because you are Chris's dad, but you are of a certain age group that I think should not be going out to try and start a Shadows tribute at this moment. So I hope you don't take offence to that, but stay indoors, and I'll tell you what, as a reward for staying indoors and not doing a Shadows tribute at the moment, I'll come and we'll do one later on once all this bullshit's over. There we go. It's a bit of a reward there. I'm sure Chris will love it as well. Is Chris going to play guitar or bass? Or you play bass. So will he be playing guitar or drums? That's the point. Anyway, I got diverted there from the off to a Shadows jam. I wouldn't say tribute. It would just be a jam. I love the Shadows.
I did want to thank you for what you've done. Everybody that played on this. Everybody that's been involved in this project. Shout out to Dave Kersner. Shout out to Durga. Shout out to Dave Innes. All my buddies in the Aussie Floyd that came in and played beautifully on my song. And I also wanted to thank everybody who's contributed to the project. I put up a link if you'd like to donate and get a pre-order in for the album and several other items that we've got on the McBroom Sisters page, just go to mcbroomsisters.com/album.
Cool. Well, that's Lorelei's set of thanks and promotion. Very Hollywood. I'm going to be very British and quote Ricky Gervais and say, thank you all, and thank God for making me an atheist. Goodbye.